Alstyne Zoning Board of Adjustment order tonight. It is now 6:30 and February the 10th. The second item on the agenda is the invocation. Tonight, the invocation will be given to us by Shannon Jackson. Shannon is the minister at the Alstyne Church of Christ on Hobson Street. He's married, has two great children, very busy and active at the school, and his wife works at the school, and we're glad that he is here with us tonight. So if you will, please stand while he leads us in that prayer.
Let's pray. Father, the giver of grace and life, the giver of an overflowing love, we thank you tonight for blessing us in ways that we are able to see and to comprehend, and in ways, Father, that we can't even fully acknowledge. But we are grateful that you look down on us each day with compassion, with love, with mercy, and that you bless us as your children. Father, we are thankful that you give us life through your Son, Jesus Christ. And that, Father, because of his willingness, that we can have this relationship with you and share in this journey in this life that leads home to you, and we are grateful. Father, we're thankful for men and women who are willing to serve this community. Thank you for Mayor Salmon, for each council member, for Mr. Baker, our police chief, Mr. Barnes, and Mr. Smith and Mr. White, who serve in so many other capacities, and all those who function as city staff to serve the citizens of this community. Father, we pray that you would be with these members tonight who are here, with the citizens who are here, as decisions and discussions are made concerning this city. And we pray, Father, that you would bless each of them, that you would watch over them. And Father, you would give them wisdom and discernment concerning the decisions that need to be made. And Father, we thank you again for opportunities that we have to serve you, to love you, and to share with you. And we ask all this tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please remain standing while Councilman Jackson leads us in our pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the Texas flag. Honor
Under
the
the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. First item on this agenda for the Zoning Board of Adjustments is a public hearing. This is regarding a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne County of Grayson, state of Texas, being described as OTP, Van Alstyne Edition, Block 24, Lot 6 through 10 acres, .4017, more commonly known as 277 North Waco Street, for a variance to the masonry requirements set forth in the Comprehensive Zoning Regulations, Appendix 1B, Non-Residential Zoning Districts and Area Regulations. The owner agent is requesting the variance to reduce the percentage of masonry required for the property, which is currently zoned Central Business District. This property is located behind us on the corner on Highway 5. Are there any comments or remarks?
Mayor, can I
Yes.
say something?
Yes, you
I
may.
might not say that.
Would you like to stand up? And
Sure, we're gonna put stucco on the buildings to make them look better. And the only place we're not gonna put stucco is on the back of the building that faces the fire department building. But all the rest of it will be on, I had this in the floor plans, but, Joe thought I had them and I thought Joe was gonna bring them, so we didn't.
shame on you, Joe.
I blame it on him a little bit. While we're talking about variances, can we get a variance also on the asbestos and also on the,
No, sir.
No, you can only get
But there's nothing
what
in the
you've
building.
requested. That
Huh?
would have to be something separate.
That's required by code. There has to be an
I
inspection.
know it's required by code. Is there, there's nothing we can do, I gotta spend $1,000 to get it done.
If that's what's necessary, yes, sir.
That makes no sense to me. Then I don't guess there's any way we get another variance at all. The reason I asked that is on the accessible bathrooms. We don't have public restrooms, and we do that, we have that for a reason, because it will secure to our, when we take something in, then we're responsible for it. We can't let anybody close to it. So there will not be any public restrooms.
That's something to work out with the building code official.
We have the building.
Yes, sir. This is strictly about the
All right,
masonry.
well, last time I called Mary Fowler, which was Friday,
Yes.
she laughed at me. And I was trying to get something done. And I said, you know, this may be funny as hell to you, but it's not funny to me at all. Because we've been trying to get this thing done since November. I've had the property bought since April. And we finally got all our licenses and everything,
So I'm not
so.
familiar with Mary Fowler. This first time heard of it. Be happy to talk to Ty Chapman, who is our contact at Bureau Veritas, and talk to him about it. This is strictly about the masonry variance, so.
Are there, this building, before you purchased it, was a garage, right?
Yes, ma'am. As I understand, I don't know what was there. There wasn't anything in there. There was a guy building, first time I looked at it, there was a guy building, stands for deer hunting.
And before that, it was a garage sale, before that, it was a garage.
I mean, it's an eyesore right now, but we're gonna make it look nice, and, so.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Second call, any more comments from the audience? This is a public hearing, so it is not required if you fill out a form if you have any comments you wish to make. Then at this time, I declare this public hearing closed. We will go to item 5. Consider and take any action necessary regarding a request by the owner on this property that we have just discussed. You're requesting a variance to reduce the percentage of masonry required for the property, which is currently zoned CBD. Councilman Floyd, do you have any comments?
If I remember correctly, wasn't this a building that we let somebody start using it under the agreement they would make it a brick all the way around it
Yes, sir.
within
With the
3
prior-
years?
Yes, sir. With the prior owner, council had previously agreed, and I think you may have been on council at that time,
Yeah.
but y'all agreed that they could open up, and they could start operating
Okay.
in that capacity, and that they would bring it up to 100% masonry. The business never did make or take within that 3 years,
Okay.
so it sat vacant, and they didn't fulfill their obligation.
They did put a small amount of brick around the bottom of the building, which we're gonna have to tear out. I mean,
Okay.
it's done all wrong.
Okay. That's all.
Councilman Moore?
Yes, and you don't have any renderings to what you're wanting to do.
Yes, I do, but we're not gonna have it look.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me to approve variance, I need to see renderings personally. The concept, I mean, one of the main reasons for masonry in the codes is for the ability for structures to remain very low maintenance, and masonry is very low maintenance.
See, we're talking about masonry here, it's stucco. But it's
Well,
masonry.
there's you know, you go city to city, everybody has different feelings on stucco. Stucco can be very high maintenance, especially when it comes to painting and keeping it maintained there. And if it's not done on a proper structure, there's a lot of cracking that can also occur. This structure is really not made for stucco. So I'd really personally want to see the plans, see what is intended, because we approve a variance and then 5 years down the road, all of a sudden we have another eyesore. Because we didn't do our due diligence in making sure that when we did approve that variance, that it was going to be done properly for the benefit of the city. So that's where I would stand on it. I can't approve a variance personally unless I see a rendering and see how it's going to be
There's
done.
one at the city and there's two down at this place here.
That's all.
While my position is that we enforce the ordinances here, we also want to encourage people to come in and revitalize our community, fix up the eyesores, occupy them. While it may not be cost effective to bring it up to the complete code, I would be open to consider variance, but, if others need to see the plans of this, bring it before the council to do that. Frank, would the, we've had variances where we use hardy board, that's considered,
It does have masonry, if you're talking about the masonry portion, it does have masonry elements to it. However, it's not brick or stone, and that's what we're ultimately shooting for in the whole, central business district.
it has to be brick or stone.
That's what it states. What did you say was hardship, why you couldn't do brick or stone?
That's just the way we drew it up, because it's easier for us to make, to tie the two buildings together. I didn't want to tear them down.
Sure.
And so Joe put together a plan to put it, so we bring that back building out. So it'll be tall there, and we'll have structures on either side. That'll be the door, front door. And we can do it with rock. Probably about the same price if we could stucco. It's just easier for us to make it look really nice and last a lot longer than we could with stone.
Okay, you say you have renderings in the building that they can see behind us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they table it, could somebody go get them?
Copy and Robert wanted to get all of you a copy.
Okay.
I bring it by the city hall, give it to you, Frank, you distribute it, I don't really do it.
Okay.
I think my questions have been answered. I think I agree, I do agree, that we need to see a rendering before we can make a decision on this. However, my understanding is Central Business District is brick or stone. That's obviously for aesthetics as well as for fire proofing, et cetera, many reasons why. So that's where I'm at right now.
I agree with these others, but there's not a more prime location in our city than that right there, that intersection. I would rather abide by the ordinance as it is. And it says,
Larry, I want to ask this question. Now, this is something that probably don't come up very often, but right across the street, what do you do about that building?
well, sir, if it's put to a new use, my understanding is, or a new owner, then that's...
As long as that guy's there.
It's a new owner.
Well, do they need it?
No, you said if it was put to a new use,
It's
it's
a new
new
owner.
owner.
Yes. Oh, okay. If he sells it, then the new owner's going to have to abide by the ordinance as far as...
He's grandfathered in because he's owned it.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions. What kind of structure is the building itself? Is it a wooden
So it's
wooden
metal.
constructor?
It's
or-
metal.
It's metal construction.
There's two metal buildings out there that are not joined. One of them was the old car shop, I guess, or tire shop.
Okay.
And then they built that new building. I don't know if Joe built that or not. I don't know when it was built. It's a 20 by 40 steel structure also.
So both of them are steel structure. Okay.
Thing about it is, if you go in there and do the brick or the stone, you basically go by code, you have to put a footage all the way around the building. And a lot of times that don't work very good in this area where they need to do it by code. But with the stucco, you won't have as much of a problem with the cracking and the crack. And you're trying to cover up a better building like that, make it look pretty.
Okay.
They really look nice,
But there isn't anything else around, I mean, like the last one, we considered something like this, the whole neighborhood looked like it had wood siding on it, so we let somebody do party lights. But in this case, there's nobody else around there that's doing stucco or nothing that makes it fit into the environment, right? There's nothing around you. And also, I think our laws say that we're supposed to consider an exemption or allowing them to have a variance based on hardships. And I don't see anything in this that's talked about hardship. It's all about aesthetics and what you would rather do. So, no, that's my opinion.
Well, the reason we designed it with stucco is I saw the original plan or codes that we got from the city. And I swear, I guess I was stupid or crazy, but I swear I saw in there that stucco was okay, but evidently not. And from the original ones, when I saw the, Jennifer gave me another copy, and it's very clear in there, it's brick and masonry.
Is faux stone an option for you?
I'm sorry?
Is faux stone or faux brick an option for you? 'Cause I know you don't have to have the footer for that.
Yeah, but, that, the people that have used that in my part of the country have had problems with it, and it's not like stucco. But they've had problems with what I was talking about earlier, breaking and shipping, it's real light stuff, It's kind of, we can put that on there.
Okay.
I mean, if it's okay with you, then I don't care what we put on there. As long as it looks nice,
Mayor, if I may, you don't want to hide the ball. I mean, I know where you got the stucco, but Appendix 1B it describes what's allowed on the properties, and I know you've seen that, and it says 100% masonry for commercial business, central business district buildings. And then, on the other side, it says masonry means brick or stone veneer, so that's the definition in this code for masonry. Now, there is another section in another appendix that mentions stucco, but that section is a list of materials that may be used. It lists brick and it lists stone, it lists stucco, and it lists some wood and wood products.
That's where I got it.
Yes, sir.
I'm not completely crazy.
No, you saw it. The difference in my mind is, in one place we have a definition of the word masonry, and then the other we have a list of materials that may be used. And it's a little ambiguous, but it appears that stucco could be used along with whatever wood is allowed on the facade. I think it says 20%. And so stucco might be incorporated into some of that wood, but that means on the facade at least 80%'s got to be masonry as it's defined in here.
What about the back of the building that faces the, do we have to do anything to that?
Yes, sir. That's going to have to be 100%.
100%. Well, if y'all are okay with that rock you're talking about, we'll do it with that. I mean, instead of, and make some of it stucco. It's the tops of it.
I know that most of the cities around us have approved that as a masonry product, the faux brick and stone.
It's about the same price as stucco.
So,
Let me ask you, sir, do you want to vote on this tonight, or do you want to table this
I'd
until?
like to get this kicked off some way, get it off dead center. I mean, if the rock's something, we can change our plans and do it that way.
I mean, I'm good with it. If he's going to do a faux stone, faux brick, I would be okay with it.
then you would be okay with that, would you? Okay.
I have a question regarding that, Frank, do you know what that material is? Would it be
We can just bring a sample,
masonry?
just like see what it is.
Okay.
I have no idea what it looks like.
This time is your recommendation.
What you see on all of it, white rock, you see on all of it.
Okay. Okay, I have asked Frank, his recommendation is that if you want to move forward with the brick or Stone, his recommendation is that it would be all right. At this time, is there a motion from council?
I make the motion that we approve to allow them to use bow stone or bow brick on that, as the complete the requirement for 100% masonry on the outside of the building.
You want to see us?
Is there a second? I always ask, is there a second? Is there a second to that motion? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I'm sorry, there was one more question you could clear up. I told him where the word stucco was, and he's whether the motion will that allow him to use 20% of wood or wood products or stucco on the facade.
I believe so. I mean,
Yes, but not on the front. The front's required 100%, and then 20% can be for architectural features, or 20% of the other three sides.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we have, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Opposed? Motion passed. 4 for, 1 opposed. It is granted. At this time, we will adjourn our zoning board of adjustments. What time is it? It is 6:52. I would like to call the city council meeting to order. Jennifer, are there any citizens' communication?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much. There is no public hearing. The items for consideration is number 4, approval of minutes from the January 13th, 2015 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting and the January 13th, 2015 regular city council meeting. Are there any questions or corrections at this time? Councilman Blake? Councilman Moore? Councilman Jackson? Councilman Kelly? If not, then is there a motion?
We accept the minutes as
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. We have 3 opposed, abstain.
I'm abstaining, I wasn't here.
Yes. We'll let you do that. Next, we have a presentation of fund donations to the Keep Van Alstyne Beautiful from Republic Services. I don't have on there who's giving this, but okay, Republic Services. Furnace?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And do we have a representative for where's the bowl? The right down there.
Don't trust anybody. There you go. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to the Honorable Mayor and the City Council members and staff for allowing Republic Services to be a partner with the City of Van Alstyne. My name is Rick Furnace, and on behalf of Republic Services, we're happy to give a donation for $2,000 to keep Van Alstyne beautiful.
Thank you so very
Thank you. Close real quick.
Get my good side.
Give him a $2,000 smile.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
That's a very gracious gift, and I know it will be spent very beneficial to our city. The next item is consider and take any action necessary regarding approval of development plans for the Driscoll Hills subdivision, which is 54.0 acres located approximately 1,500 linear feet east of U.S. Highway 75 and County Line Road intersection. This is number 6, and we have the Planning and Zoning Commission conditionally approve the proposed development plans with the understanding that the city's engineer's comments would be addressed satisfactorily and complies with city requirements. The developer of this is Hurt Development Company. Is there a representative of the company here? Please come forward and state your name.
Josh Edge with Dynamic Engineering. Address is 1301 Central Expressway in Allen, Texas. I represent the owner. I am the civil engineer for this project, and I'm happy to address any comments or questions that anybody on the council may have.
How many houses will you end up building?
The proposed development has 142 lots. One of the lots will be designated more for an amenity area.
Do you have any questions, Councilman Moore?
Do you have builders signed up for this?
That is a question that I'm going to have to refer back to the developer on. He is here this evening, and he would be able to answer that question.
Well, the builders that we have spoken to are prepared to sign up, but not until we receive full approval from the city. So we're kind of impasse on that right now.
Okay. And your name is?
James Hurt.
James.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rick.
Proposed groundbreaking, is there a proposed groundbreaking?
The goal here, I think, is for us to get working by the end of the month. The end of February, maybe towards middle of March, just in order for us to get the appropriate people in order as far as contractors.
And this is the new water line, sewer line that's going in.
Right across the front.
They're going to have to utilize that.
Right, yeah, we've connected our plans, so we're currently in the process of building, or designing and coordinating the connections of their water lines to that water. They will also connect up the proposed crude right away to the existing line right near the elementary school, so they'll have two sources of service.
Is timing working out where their start, our lines all coming together?
We're going to be right on top of each other, so yeah.
Cool. So this is good timing.
Good time, it's very good time.
Do you have any?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
My question was regarding the timing of everything we're doing compared to where they're going, so thank you for answering that question.
I was at a planning and zoning commission meeting, so these questions you've already answered most of them. But as for the streets, County Line Road, for instance. Now, I know you're developing streets within the subdivision, but as for County Line Road and other adjoining streets, do you plan to develop those?
Well, I believe the option was given to us on whether to move forward with the expansion of County Line Road or perhaps looking to escrow those funds for a future date. From what I understand, I don't know that we're quite ready to make the full expansion of County Line Road. So again, this is a developer question or decision, but it looks more to that we're leaning more towards the escrow fund.
Are you talking specifically here widening the road, is that what you're discussing?
I would defer to
The master thoroughfare plan has it ultimately as a 6-lane divided thoroughfare. They would be responsible for the 3 lanes adjacent to them.
Okay.
So in lieu of doing that, moving off and on the new current line on the road, we are leaning towards industrial also.
Are there any further questions? If not, oh, I see. Do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
What are the values of the house going to be? Do we know?
And that is more towards the developer side of it.
Or a range or anything like that?
Based on current market analysis, probably the target is about $250,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just so you all know for your motion, I don't know from the city engineer if all of their comments that the planning and zoning approval was conditional on have been addressed, or if your motion needs to be conditional on all of those things being addressed and corrected.
This middle is 90% complete, according to them. We have some fine tuning on hydraulics and the force main and lift station that we are in constant contact with, so we have a favorable solution forthcoming, just time to get here. So those, I would still make it contingent upon final approval at that point, because we've got some issues left, but all the, like I said, 90 to 95% issues have been addressed. We just have a couple of little tie things to make.
So the motion would be approved with the proposed development plans with the understanding that the city's engineers' comments would be addressed satisfactorily and complies with city requirements. Is that satisfactory? Is there a motion from council at this time?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
We'll take him as a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I got it. Okay, number 7 was withdrawn. So we will go to number 8, which is a presentation of structural analysis of the City Hall building.
Mayor and council, Ryan Stoltz with Structures Texas is here to address. He came out in December and did a structural assessment of the existing City Hall building, and you were given a copy of his report as he was doing that. Ryan will be glad to answer any questions. He'll take you through a quick presentation and just some of the issues there and have you talk about it.
Thanks for your time tonight. Out of the report, I think I picked some of the pictures of the key elements that were, I guess, the most notable structural concerns, just as talking points, make sure we're all looking at the same pictures and referencing the same thing. Go ahead and get the first picture. So to start with, this type of old masonry building is a little bit different than current masonry. Most common masonry now is used as a facade. It's not actually brick masonry. It's not really structural. Built in the early 1900s, this brick building, it's about 16 inches thick for the load-bearing walls, and the masonry brick itself is the actual structure supporting the floor and the roof above. With that said, the type of mortar that was used back in the early 1900s in the older masonry buildings is significantly different than mortar that's used now. And various repairs and band-aids have obviously been done to the building along the way. And most of those are not performing very well, and in many ways further hurt the performance of the building and have caused deterioration of the mortar. So as we look through some of these pictures, that's one of the biggest culprits is inadequate kind of band-aids, patches along the way that cause maybe further damage to an old structure. So it's always in our interest to try to obviously save a building of historic value. That's always our first and foremost concern, but we also have to look at structural safety and consider any structural issues that we do see. So first and foremost, the building was painted. That was not good for the performance of the building. The lime mortar that was used is meant to breathe. It's supposed to have moisture to get in through the mortar and let it evaporate out as the sun hits it. That's part of the performance. When it's painted, the water can't escape, can't get out of the mortar joints, and it's forced into the brick, or it stays in the mortar for a longer time than it really should. And as water sits there, it slowly eats away and deteriorates both the brick and the mortar. So you'll see evidence of that, especially here at the entrance stair on the south facade, where water's probably splashed off the roof, hit the sidewalk, and there's a lot of exposure to water. The lower 3 to 4 feet, you see the paint just peeling away at the mortar joints. And if you go to the next picture for me. There you see I've put my pen in approximately 4 to 5 inches, and the mortar is just powder. There is no structural integrity to the outer 5 or 6 inches of mortar at that lower portion of the structure. So that's obviously a concern. There's nothing there. How deep that goes and how extensive, again, may need some further inspection. But from the one day I spent looking at it, there is noticeable concern in this area. Next picture, please. Here you'll see a patch attempt where somebody came back with a cement-based mortar, which is the common mortar you'd see today. If you have brick on your house, it has cement-based mortar in between the bricks. It performs very differently than the lime-based mortar that was used on these buildings. And I won't go too deep into the chemistry behind that unless you're interested and want to ask further. I won't bore you. I don't think you need to know all of those details, but this is an example of a patch that was done using common mortar, and it is falling out in some places. It's considered an inadequate repair for a building with this type of mortar from the early 1900s. This picture. There's also attempts to basically just stick a whole bunch of caulk in a lot of the joints. Probably some waterproofing issues at some point along the way. And you see the joints further separating, the caulk's stretching and cracking. It's not serving its purpose anymore. That would be considered another Band-Aid that I'd recommend be removed. And so the exterior of the east facade is actually in fairly good shape. There's not noticeable cracking. That outer face of that wall is probably in the best condition. If I go ahead and go to the next pictures. This shows some cracking on the single-story addition that was to the north of the original City Hall building. And this just shows, again, another patch. They put stucco over the brick. And somebody that came up earlier. He left, so he missed this picture. I thought it'd be interesting. But again, you see that if there is any movement in the foundation, which is likely to occur here, the lime mortar that was used is fairly forgiving. In some ways, the way it performs, it kind of heals itself if there's minor cracks from movement. But if you apply something like stucco that's cement-based, and there's any movement at all, you see cracks, and they grow, and it starts falling off. It starts falling off the face of the building. You really do have to have an adequate backing and an adequate foundation structure if stucco is going to stay intact. So, again, here's a case of a Band-Aid applying a finish over brick at some point, and it didn't perform very well, and it has fairly significant cracks. Next picture. All of the windows, or I'd say many of the windows. Most of the windows show signs of rotting, the wood's deteriorating. The windows, go ahead and go to the next picture as well. This is a picture from the second floor, one of the interior windows, but there's significant gaps. Air can basically blow straight through the walls. There's openings. The windows are not sealed. To take all of those out and reseal them properly, rebuild the window frames, fix the masonry around the perimeter. All of that I would recommend would need to be done just to condition the space and make it usable. Next picture. This is a picture of the flooring of the second floor, and it's showing the interior of that east facade. So I told you the exterior looked fine. Unfortunately, the interior is probably the worst deterioration of the mortar in the whole building. You'll see that it's basically loose bricks. All the mortar's fallen out and deteriorated. It's become powder at some point and fallen out. Go to the next picture. There's also signs of water damage, which I'm not exactly sure the history of the water damage and how that's been handled in the past, if the structure has been reviewed for rot because of the leaking in the roof. I know there's some discussion that the roofing had been repaired at some point in recent years, but again, there's still, I see that and I worry about the structural members, the safety of the roof, what's happened to the members up above that have potentially been soaked in water or had water leaking down the sides of it repeatedly. Next picture. This is just a picture of some of the original architectural finishes, the tin ceiling at the first level, which is great. I think it's beautiful. Unfortunately, around the perimeter there is a lot of rust. There are a lot of holes in it. Just weathering and damage over the years, it's eaten away at a lot of the original tin materials. I'm not sure if it's even salvageable or able to be reused. Next picture. And another major concern was there was a fire at one point on the roof of the structure. And rule number one when there's a fire and there's char on a member is you remove all of the char from the member to see how much solid wood you have left. What are you working with? Usually if less than 10% of that member has been burned and is charred, you usually would still consider that member adequate. In this case, from looking at how much wood had been charred, it looked like it was more than that. Not significantly more, but it did look like probably more than 10% was burned. And first recommendation would be to I guess find the extent of that fire damage, to remove the char, see how much wood is left, and then see if the members are still adequate. Some members were added there to try and reinforce it. With what I could see, it was difficult to tell if it really addressed all of the areas where there was fire. It seemed like there was probably some more reinforcement that would be needed once the char was removed and since the damage was determined. And that's a few more pictures of the fire damage. And one shot of the foundation. The wood members of the foundation were in great shape. That was one thing that was in pretty good condition. Old wood, which doesn't grow like wood today, the longleaf pine or the old wood that they let grow a lot longer, just it lasts a long time and it is in good shape. So that was a few of the pictures I pulled out of the report. I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the rest of the report. Again, the main concerns are, I guess one other concern maybe I didn't address in the picture is a lot of the bricks at the top of the parapet are very loose because of the mortar that's deteriorated. An immediate concern for that would be that wind could blow bricks off the top of the parapet. There's literally nothing holding them in place. Some areas are worse than others, but there is some immediate safety concerns like that. As far as the long-term structural integrity of the building, if you can condition the space, like I said, there's gaps in the windows, air blows through the walls because of the lack of mortar. To repair it properly in a historic manner would be a significant investment to do that. And I think I'll stop there for now and see what questions you have or if I can answer anything that would help you all out.
That is one of our historic buildings, and at one time it was out back. It houses the original safe that they had at the bank. I and Chief Barnes also can attest to the fact that it has never been repaired. It has been ignored. We had, in the first part of the 90s, there was a leak. We had the police department in the back. Frank is in that same room, and we still have the same leak, and it's never had the repair work done to it. It's been a patch job. I noticed one of the pictures where the vines that were growing up on the back have never been removed. And it is a part of our downtown area and something that has a great history with it. So I don't know the exact year that it was built, but I assure you it's a long time.
Early 1900s, as far as we know. I know Lynn said the plat was drawn out in 1898, I believe. So I'm imagine building was done shortly after that. So very early 1900s.
I'm sure it's over 100 years old. And we have patched it and patched it and patched it. And as I say, it does have a great historic thing to where it
Absolutely.
Especially since it was the bank. And especially since there are only 2 buildings left in Alstyne that have the original safes in them. And one of them is Douglas Florist. They still have the original safe in that building. And the one at City Hall is the original safe. You may not be aware of it, but there are 2 doors going into that safe. I never really understood the security of that. But there is a door that we have furniture in front of. There are things in front of it, but you can still use it. But it really is a gracious old building, even though it has been ignored. That was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. Okay.
Did we ask questions?
You can ask questions. There's no action on this.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and ask questions.
Do you want to ask?
I would just want, is there, as far as you're concerned, is it unusable right now? Is it too dangerous to be in? Or is it still acceptable that you would think that it's not going to fall down on everybody?
And based on the one-day assessment I had, it's a difficult question to
Would
answer.
you go in that building on your waist, on your way?
You know, it's been there for a long time. To say, is it going to fall down in a day or next week? No, probably not. However, with the repairs that have been done, especially at the second floor, seeing how you really probably can't even condition the space adequately because of the gaps in the windows and the air that just blows through the walls because of the lack of mortar. I feel like it'd be difficult to inhabit that space for sure. On the first level, there's been a little bit more finish out. However, I think just the structural integrity, it still is a safety concern. I can't say the building's going to last for 10 more years because I'm not sure. Again, you could hire a mason or somebody to further investigate how much deterioration there is in the mortar, where in the wall that occurs, and really determine is this at risk for falling down in the next year or two, or so in some ways there needs to be further investigation to really address that issue. But there definitely are some very significant structural concerns that do concern me from looking around the building.
If we were to choose to fix it, is there a way to fix it other than replacing it? I mean, would you go back in and
to repair it properly, you'd have to.
Would you go back in and put lime,
Right.
caulking, I mean, remove all the stuff? and
Remove
put
the
lime?
Band-Aids that have been done. Repoint the mortar where there's not too significant or too deep of deterioration with the proper lime mortar so it performs as intended. I would recommend that the paint be removed, the caulk pulled out, and a qualified mason would have to rebuild portions of the wall. Again, looking at the second floor, a good at least 8 inches, I think, of the mortar was just completely gone. It's just dry stacked loose bricks. And that's supporting the weight of the roof.
Yeah.
This isn't a facade, this is the structure. And so that would have to pretty much be rebuilt. The inside 2 wides of brick for sure would have to be rebuilt. I'm not sure if that extends further into the outside. But there is a potential for large portions of the second floor for sure being rebuilt. There may just be some repointing of the first floor. But that takes a lot of time to do properly. And again, it would need to be a qualified mason. It would need to be someone that has specialized and worked on historic buildings. I would definitely.
Where the walls are
recommend
painted
that.
on the inside of the building, would those need to be, I mean, that paint shouldn't be on them either, right?
The paint on the inside is probably not as critical as far as the performance. It really has to do with the moisture coming from the outside and then the sun drying it out and the moisture being able to get out.
Okay.
That paint's not as critical, but
It wasn't a good thing to
I
do.
can't say offhand. No, I would say it wasn't a good thing to do. I can't say offhand how bad the paint on the interior is. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
The second story of that has not been occupied since the library moved out in 1972. 72? Since 1972. And so, there's not been anything done. It's just left. And looking at this, it's quite obvious if we don't do something to restore that building, it is going to continue to deteriorate. The stairwell you were talking about is shared with the building next door.
Right.
In that when you go up the stairs, you can go over City Hall, or you can go to your left where there were old historic office spaces. So, if there are no further questions,
Okay, mostly for the benefit of people who didn't get this assessment, we sure appreciate your assessment here. It is your assessment that the lifespan of the building as it is could be as little as a few years.
That's correct.
Hard to say, hard to hit it any closer than that.
well, we know if we don't do anything to it, it will continue to deteriorate and deteriorate.
And your further recommendation is that we do some more investigating, a more extensive investigation of the deterioration.
And part of that, like I said, in a one-day assessment, trying to catch major structural issues, major structural concerns. I feel like next steps would obviously be getting a contractor, a qualified mason that could do the work properly, to come do a further investigation if warranted, and they would also be able to provide more accurate pricing than I would be able to, and that would probably be a possible next step. But I do think something needs to be done soon. It's not in good shape. So.
Thank you.
We should be alarmed.
Yeah, when I stuck my pen through the mortar, it alarmed me a little bit. So.
You have a question?
Yeah, Larry led me right through that. To get that qualified mason in that works on historic buildings like this, what is a ballpark range for an assessment or how deep it needs to go?
Just for their assessment?
Yeah, for their assessment of it and how detailed it is. And
I would guess ballpark estimate somewhere in the $6,000 to $8,000 range would probably be a couple days worth of their time to come investigate. I'm not sure if that'd be 2 to 3 days if they need to probably spend a while looking at all the areas that would need to be repaired, figure out how deep that is, what it would take. Maybe they could do that quicker. Maybe that'd be more like a $3,000 or $4,000 fee for them to come out and do that, but that'd be my ballpark estimate.
Based upon the mortar that's missing, on the inside, is it more likely to collapse in on itself or push out?
Whichever way the wind's blowing.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. That was a very nice presentation. Number 9, consider and take any action necessary regarding appointments to the EDC Board of Directors and the CDC Board of Directors. We will start with the EDC. We have 3 vacancies and we have 4 applicants for the EDC. They are James David Lewis, Randy Alstyne, Usselton, I missed that, but his wife was appointed. Patrick Flynn and Josh Kincaid. Is James Lewis here? Is Randy here?
Randy is out of town, but he wanted to be here.
Okay. I know that Patrick is here. Patrick, would you like to have anything to say?
well, I'd love the opportunity to, get them more involved with the city and move for the future. So that's one of the reasons behind why I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the EDC.
Thank you. Patrick is very modest, and for those of you who are not aware of who the Flynn brothers are, they are descendants of Ben Milam. There is a statue to Ben Milam at the Alamo as he fought for the independence of Texas, and his widow was granted a land grant, which one of the descendants lives on, and he also lives here in Fan. So he is a descendant of one of our families in Alstyne. So it's always good. And his grandmother and I worked at the museum for 10 years together. So I'm really glad to see them moving back to Alstyne because our history is so something. Josh? Is Josh here? No. So what we will do, we have 4 applicants. We have 3 vacancies for the EDC. At this time, are there any questions? I almost forgot, Billy.
Patrick? Sir. I have one question for you. Do you see any problem with where you work and stuff with being able to make the meetings since they aren't held during the day?
No, I don't, not at all. I'm self-employed, so my office in Dallas, but I'm all around, so I will not have a problem at all making
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, there being no questions, is there a motion on these 3 vacancies at this time. Do we want to do all 3 at once, or do we want to do them one at a time? What is the council's view? One at a time? One at a time? One at a time? Okay. Then we will, I would like a recommendation of a person to serve on the Economic Development Corporation. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Patrick Quinn to
EDC.
the EDC.
Alstyne.
We have a motion and a second that Patrick Flynn be appointed to the EDC. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Mr. Flynn, you're on the EDC. We need 2 more, so
I
is,
make a motion we appoint Randy Userton to the EDC.
Alstyne.
you didn't pronounce his name right either.
No.
But we have a
I
motion.
don't pronounce his wife's name right either.
I didn't either.
Okay.
So, he's not here. We're safe. So we have a motion and a second to appoint him to the EDC. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. And we need a 3rd person on the EDC at this time. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint James David Lewis. He's a longtime, born and raised in Van Alstyne.
A lifetime resident.
And I think as a young man, he should bring something to the table.
Which one did you say?
James Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Is there a second? We have 2 seconds. Just pick one, Jennifer. All of those in favor of James David Lewis to be appointed to the EDC, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We have filled the 3 vacancies on the EDC. We have, but then we go to the CDC, and there is 1 opening and 1 application, and that application is from Colin Flynn. Is Colin here? Colin? Now that we know about your brother and that you are his brother, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
I'll just, I'm looking forward to working, if this works out under your leadership and alongside my brother here. And we're real happy to be back in the house.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Colin Flynn to the CDC.
Okay, is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We have filled our board. So the next item is to consider and act upon approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Van Alstyne, Texas, granting the petition for Tract A of the owner of an area of land to annex the area into the City of Van Alstyne, setting the date, time, and place for a public hearing on a proposed annexation. On the voluntary petition of owners for approximately 117.315 acres of land described on Exhibit A, generally located in the area south of Farm to Market 121, west of Highway 75 and north of Cartwright Road, where Cartwright Road runs east and west, authorizing the preparation of service plans and notification of property owners, railroads, and school districts, authorizing and directing the city clerk to publish notice of such public hearings and establishing an effective date. Are there any questions regarding this, Mr. Blake?
Mayor, may I give y'all some information?
Yes, please do.
This item and the next 4 are a series of 5 tracts where the property owner has petitioned the city and asked to be brought into the city limits voluntarily. This is a calendar that I worked on with Frank and Jennifer that I wanted you all to have a copy of. The yellow parts are council meeting or planning and zoning meeting days. And then everything else is just the long list of things that have to be done in order to annex property and to zone property. And it culminates, if you end up approving this, where the annexation ordinance that actually brings the property into the city limits would be at your April meeting. And then after it's in the city limits, you could then adopt a zoning ordinance to regulate the zoning. The reason it is broken into 5 tracts is because when the annexation is voluntary, a tract cannot be more than a half a mile wide. And so they wanted, they had a large area they wanted in, so that's how they had to break it up so that each piece met the half mile wide or less requirements. The reason I want you to see this schedule is that the resolutions that are before you tonight do accept the owner's petition, and then it calls the public hearings. Because of the timing of how annexation works, you have to put notice of the public hearing in the paper at least 10, but not more than 20 days before the day of the public hearings. And then you have to hold the public hearings at least 20, but not more than 40 days before the date that you actually vote on the annexation ordinance. And so if you have to have a special meeting when you only meet once a month to be able to make those dates work. And that's why Jennifer contacted you about the March 24th special meeting date. The resolutions have March 24th as the date that you're calling the public hearing for. So I just wanted to double check with everybody. Since it's a special meeting, it takes 4 of you instead of 3 of you to have a quorum. But if that meeting didn't make, it's a lot to start over. It's not just if you move it, you might fall out of that 10 and 20 day period and not in the 20 and 40 day period. It's like calendar math gymnastics to make it all work. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention before you voted on all of the resolutions that are in front of you tonight, since they are setting that public hearing date.
Now, the public hearing date would be the same for all of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And can one motion cover all of them, or do we need a separate motion for each tract?
Separate.
A separate from each tract.
And the reason is one of the tracts does not currently touch the city limits because of the way it had to be broken up. So you've got to do them one at a time and in order.
Moving them.
Yes. Any other questions?
Okay. The first one, do you have any questions? The first one that we will consider is tract A. And I have read what is on the agenda for that, and if there are no further questions, is there a motion?
Motion that we grant petition for tract A on our area land to annex that area as written.
Okay. And you have, now, he has to set the depth there.
Well,
only one part to it.
If you move to approve the resolution for tract A, the resolution accepts the petition and sets the public hearing dates.
Okay, then this is to accept the resolution. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Number 11, which is the same area, but this is tract C that we're talking about. Is there a motion regarding tract C? We have a motion from Councilman Jaska. To accept the resolution. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous. Number 12, tract D of the same land to annex the area. Is there a motion at this time to accept the resolution for tract D? We have a motion. Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passed unanimously. Next, we have number 13, which is tract E. And this is regarding the same annexation. Is there a motion for tract E?
approve the resolution as to tracking.
Okay, we have a motion we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We have number 14. This is track B.
Make a motion that we approve the resolution for track B.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. It passes. Number 15, consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign consent for inclusion of the city limit overlap and dueling certification area in the proposed South Grayson Special Utility District boundary. Do you have any questions regarding this item? It was on our January agenda, and it was item 12 on the January agenda. The recommendation per Mr. Spencer's included electronic mail notification is on your agenda item report. Do you have any questions regarding this? Councilman Clay?
No.
Lauren? There being no questions, is there a motion at this time?
Make a motion, Your Honor, that we authorize you to sign consent for inclusion of the city limit overlap and dual certification area in the proposed South Grayson Special Utility District boundary.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? We have 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion passed. Number 16, consider and take any action necessary regarding ordering the May 9th, 2015 general election. Any questions regarding this? Is there a motion that we call for the general election?
I make a motion that we call for general election to elect 2 aldermen and mayor
On May the 9th.
on May the 9th.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Number 17, consider and take any action necessary regarding passage of an ordinance amending ordinance number 540, establishing duties of the city manager to include a requirement to execute a bond pursuant to local government code 25.029. Are there any questions regarding this? Councilman Clay?
No.
Councilman Moore? There being no questions, is there a motion?
Move that we pass an ordinance, amending ordinance number 540, as described. Establishing the duties of the city manager to include a requirement to execute a bond.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. The next item is item 18, consider and take any action necessary regarding passage of an ordinance repealing ordinance number 620 and adopting a water resource and emergency management plan for the city of Alstyne to promote responsible use of water. Are there any questions regarding this, Councilman Blake?
Oh, ma'am.
Councilman Russell Moore? Councilman Jess? And I got the name of it. There being no questions, is there a motion at this time?
Mayor, that, let's see, we pass an ordinance repealing ordinance number 620 and adopting a water resource and emergency management plan for the city of Alstyne to promote responsible use of water.
Is there a second? There's a second by Councilman Jasta. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Number 19, schedule date for regular meeting in March so as not to impede upon school closing for spring break. It has been suggested that we can do it the week before, which is on the 2nd, or the week after. The spring break is the 8th through the 14th. So we could do it before on March the 3rd or after on March the 17th. Staff recommends, wait, just a minute, wrong one, I think it's better get to number 19. Okay. What does staff recommend to this, Mr. Baker?
Staff recommends the first week.
That which would be the March 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this has been recommended by staff that we do March the 3rd. Are there any questions from council? Councilman? Yes. No questions? No, is there a motion at this time as to when we have our March council meeting?
I'll make a motion that we move our March council meeting to March the 3rd.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have 3 seconds. This is going to really go over
I'll
this.
second that.
We have 4 seconds. You want to join it? I want to vote for that too. So, everybody that's in favor, please raise your hand. We will have our March council meeting on March the 3rd, and that way we can all leave town afterwards for spring break. Next, we will have our department reports, and Jennifer, do you have anything you would like to report?
Yes, ma'am. We have received our very rough draft back from Muni Code of the codified ordinances. So Frank and I are reviewing those, and we'll make suggested changes to Muni Code, and I'm sure Julie would like to review them as well, and let them know our suggestions and questions, and hopefully get a cleaner draft for you all to review in the near future.
I know it's been 2 years.
Yes.
We've been waiting on this. So that's a good report. Chief Barnes?
Nothing at this time.
Does the fire department have a report?
Med 141's back, running perfect. The fire engine, the new fire truck will actually be on their website. I'll let council and everybody know as soon as it should be in the next week or two. You'll be able to see step by step the whole building process. I'll give you guys updates as that occurs. That's about it.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Public Works installed a new swing set that CDC purchased this week, so it's at North Park. We've installed, we've still got a little more work to do on it, but we're in the process of getting it completed.
Thank you. We have a library report.
Yes, ma'am. For the month of January, we saw almost 3,000 patrons come through our doors. Circulation was a little over 2,000. We started a graphic novel contest just yesterday, so we invite anybody that's interested in graphic novels, either adult, young adult, or elementary age, to please come by and cast a vote for your favorite graphic novel. Tweeting Book Club started this week, ages 9 to 12. Meeting on March 5th through February 5th through March 12th. And we're planning a book release party for local true crime author Janice Tracy that should be scheduled in March. And Teen Council has a gaming tournament scheduled for February 20th.
Thank you very much. City Manager's report.
Mayor and Council, been meeting with engineering on working out our development standards. Haven't been revised in quite some time. This will complement the 20-year plan moving forward, and we've got a rough draft together, specifically addressing water and sewer drainage manuals. We presented to legal. Legal will be drafting documents for you to consider for us to be able to start putting these manuals in place and update them regularly. You received a letter right before the last council meeting regarding a multifamily development that was going to come into town that had already bought property, and they were going to submit without council's consideration. I had a preliminary meeting with them, told them that this year was not a good year. Council had already partnered with Palladium, and I wish that they had come back in the summer and given council an option. However, we're already on pace with Palladium. They'd asked specifically about different elements around town, if they could enhance what Palladium was doing as far as senior development and add lower income housing as well. I I told them it's going to take more work than just us having preliminary discussions for that to move forward. So as that develops, I'll let you know more about it. It's something that should not take for this year. We're moving forward with plating. The TCEQ letter that was put in everybody's water bill, Steve received the notice, the mayor received the notice as well as being the head. And at no time were the citizens in jeopardy as far as the quality of the water. We'd had a turnover as far as our bookkeeping, or not our bookkeeping, but our paperwork filing is concerned, addressing these issues with TCEQ. Position had moved from Public Works back up to City Hall, and in that process, this is one of the things that fell through the gap. It was a paperwork error. Will not happen again, but at no time were the citizens negatively affected. Your water quality has remained consistent. It was strictly a paperwork error, and I apologize for that. Let's see, and David Barr, we received notice that David Barr's position has changed, his job conditions changed, so he's going to be resigning from P&Z. So we're going to be looking for people to serve on P&Z. So if you are interested, planning and zoning is just like CDC, EDC, library board, and all the boards that report to council. It's very important, especially with us moving forward on development. So if you wish to serve on P&Z, please let us know.
Applications at City Hall.
Jennifer we have applications at City Hall, and if you need anything, please let us know. But I believe that's everything I've got.
Thank you. Councilor Clark, do you have any comments? Councilman Bauer?
I do have a couple. Keep It Alstyne Beautiful is having a membership drive next Monday night. And where will you be meeting, Judy?
Community Center, it's covered dish. But you don't have to bring anything because we have a crock pot of soup and cornbread desserts, and everyone's invited.
Good, yes, ma'am.
One of us will.
I have no comments other than thank you very much for your interest. Thank you for coming tonight. We are going to take a, what time is it? It is, well, it sounds like an airplane. It is 7:47, and we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to ask you to, I get this great job of saying, y'all don't leave. But we're going into executive session, but if you will notice on the agenda that there will be no action and no comments after the executive session. So we are adjourned at 7:47 or till 8 o'clock. There'll be 12 minutes. So, thank you very much.